I remember at a real early age, I was wanting to work. It was way before the age of 16. And I had this desire to make money. It was the reason being because I wanted to help my mother bring food in the house. I seen that we had lacking. Me and my brother and my sister, we was always hungry. It was always a lack of food. So something in me said, I need to help. And I'm the middle child. My brother was the oldest. My sister was the youngest. And I remember I had got these odd little hustles. I know my brother used to crush cans and stuff like that. And I don't recall what he used to do with his money, but I remember I was one who used to actually go to the grocery store and find things to make little meals out of. I used to buy rice and maybe hot dogs and chili and just little stuff, just a whole little meal out of stuff. I come home with at the time, they just had paper bags, like you put your groceries in a paper bag. And so I would come home with a whole paper bag. This is at night. I would come home at night, and my mom would be so proud. She'd be like, oh, baby, you bought some food, And the thing was, I would probably sell newspapers, or I remember I worked at a mall one time during the summer. Just a little whatever, right? But I do remember mainly I used to sell newspapers for this paper. I used to go stand in front of stores like all day selling newspapers. And I would sell these papers. I think the Houston Chronicle was selling for like $1 a piece, and the Houston Post was selling for like, I want to say like 50 cents or something like that. And I could sell 100 papers, and I think they would pay me like a quarter of the profits, right? Well, a quarter of what I sold. And so I say all this because I was listening to this brother speak on Breakfast Club, and he was talking about a similar experience where he grew up, and he was around 10 years old, and he started, he went to the grocery store to try to get a job. They told me he was too young. And so he just basically started, he ended up bringing paper sacks and putting them in the machine, and his machine would give you change back or stamps or something like that. And when you get 10 stamps, you get $1. So in a way, you put a stamp in, you put a bag in, you get 1 stamp, and you get 10 stamps, you get $1. It was something to that extent, the way they explained it. And so he would just stay in the parking lot doing that, grabbing these paper sacks and putting them in this machine and getting these stamps and cash them in, and he would buy groceries and bring them home. So that made me think about my own experience, and it made me also think about this one thing that I want to share. Is that in the Holy Quran, Allah tells us that man was created to be the maintainer and provider for her. In reference to his wife, but for her, the woman. Maintainer and provider, not just financially, but mentally, spiritually, and physically. He's been created with the divine obligation and duty and ability to provide for her, mentally, physically, and spiritually, to protect her, mentally, physically, and spiritually, and to maintain her. And you see these divine characteristics in the young boy, in his perspective towards whom? His mother and his sisters, if he have them, but his mother, the one that he loves most and first, and whom becomes the first personification of the Supreme Being. The man was created to do this and have honor for this, like to really be proud to be able to do so. And whether we consciously realize it or not, it is in our divine makeup to fulfill that obligation. And whenever we are not fulfilling that obligation, it causes an imbalance within our makeup. It causes stress. And you see, stress is the result of unfulfilled obligations taught to us by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Stress is the result of unfulfilled obligations. So whenever she does not carry out her divine obligation and role, she set in balance, or she offsets herself, or she sets within herself an imbalance. Likewise, when the man does not fulfill his divine obligation and role to her, he sets within himself an imbalance. And this is what causes the stress. This is what causes an improper or imbalanced response to challenges, to hurt. You know, why men get so frustrated, why men sometimes can be so emotional, right? It's because we have an obligation that we are not fulfilling with her, but first and foremost, with the supreme being, with self, then her. You understand what I'm saying? These things are things that we may not, or these things are things that we may minimize, but they are very huge in our interaction with each other and in our personal development and within our spiritual development. I say these things because I'm also taught that everything that comes out of our mouth goes back in our own ears. So while I teach, I also learn, because it is also taught to us that all truth comes from Allah, God, the supreme being. All truth comes from him, so therefore anything that I say is true. I was only a vessel, and it was sent through me to give to you, but not just to you, but to me. So I'm humbled and I stay grateful, you know, and I pray and hope that my words were able to resonate with whomever in whatever way that it causes some light of fire within you to ignite and make you begin to analyze yourself a little bit more critically, as well as your road to your significant other, your road to the supreme being, your role and obligation to yourself. Peace and blessings.